Marcus Washington had exactly 17 minutes to deliver 6 lunches, pick up his daughter from daycare, and make it to her parent-teacher conference. The crumpled $20 bill in his pocket, his tips for the day, would have to cover dinner. Again. He didn't complain. Complaining was a luxury single fathers working 2 jobs couldn't afford. The autumn wind bit through his thin jacket as Marcus balanced the insulated delivery bags on his bicycle. 3 years ago, he'd been wearing tailored suits and presenting quarterly reports in boardrooms. Now, at 34, he wore a faded delivery company polo and knew every pothole in downtown Chicago by heart. Life had a funny way of humbling you, he thought, pedaling harder against the wind. His daughter Zara was his world. After his wife died in a car accident when Zara was just 2, Marcus had made a choice. He'd quit his demanding job as a data analyst to be present for his daughter. The career could wait. Childhood couldn't. But 18 months had turned into 3 years, and the gap on his resume had grown wider than the Chicago River, so he delivered lunches, drove for a rideshare service at night, and told himself it was temporary. The elevator in the gleaming Sterling Tower took him to the 42nd floor, where he'd delivered countless meals to TechVantage Solutions. The receptionist barely glanced up as he set down the order. Marcus was invisible here, just another service worker in a building full of people who'd once been his peers. He didn't mind. Invisible meant he could move through the world without explaining his story to every curious face. But that Tuesday afternoon, invisible became impossible. As Marcus turned to leave, he heard raised voices from the conference room. The glass walls revealed a nightmare scenario: nearly 20 people crowded around laptops, someone pacing frantically, others with phones pressed to their ears. The tension was so thick Marcus could feel it from the hallway. "We're dead in the water," someone shouted. 4 hours until the presentation, and the entire system is down. Everything. 3 years of work gone. Marcus slowed his steps. He recognized the panic in their voices. He'd lived through similar disasters in his old life, when a single server failure could cost millions or a corrupted database could tank a product launch. His fingers twitched with muscle memory. "The ransomware encrypted everything," a younger man said, his voice cracking. "They're demanding $2 million. Even if we pay, there's no guarantee they'll give us the decryption key. The investors are arriving at 6. Without that data, without those projections, we have nothing to show them. The company is finished." A woman Marcus recognized as Diana Chen, the CEO, stood at the head of the table. Her face was ashen. "We've called every cybersecurity firm in the city. No one can help us in time. It's over." Marcus should have left. He had 12 minutes now to get to the daycare. Zara would be the last kid waiting, again pressing her face against the window. But his feet wouldn't move. He thought about all the times strangers had helped him after his wife died. The neighbor who'd brought casseroles every Wednesday for 6 months. The daycare worker who'd waived late fees when he'd gotten stuck in traffic. The elderly man at the grocery store who'd once quietly paid for his groceries when Marcus's card was declined. Kindness had kept him afloat when he was drowning. Maybe it was time to pass it forward. "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice barely audible. No one turned. He cleared his throat and tried again, louder this time. "Excuse me. I might be able to help." 20 pairs of eyes turned toward him like he'd grown a second head. The lunch delivery guy, offering to solve their $1 million crisis. "I'm sorry, but we don't have time for—" someone started. "I used to work in data recovery and cybersecurity," Marcus interrupted, his heart pounding. "Before I started delivering food, I specialized in ransomware and encrypted systems. I can't promise anything, but if you give me access, I might be able to recover your data without paying the ransom." Diana Chen studied him with sharp, assessing eyes. Marcus could see her doing the calculation every desperate person does. What did she have to lose? "What's your name?" she asked. "Marcus Washington." "Marcus, if you're wasting our time—" "I'm not. But I need to make a phone call first." His voice trembled. "My daughter's daycare closes in 10 minutes and I'm supposed to pick her up." The room fell silent. Marcus watched Diana's expression shift, saw the moment she recognized him not as a delivery person, but as a human being with a life as complex as her own. "Someone get him a phone," Diana said quietly. "And someone else, please go pick up his daughter. We'll take care of it." "Where's the daycare?" 20 minutes later, Marcus was hunched over a laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard like he'd never stopped. The muscle memory came roaring back, years of expertise flooding through his fingertips. He dove into the system's architecture, tracing the ransomware's digital fingerprints, looking for the weakness every attack inevitably had. "They used a modified version of WannaCry," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "But they made a mistake in the encryption protocol. If I can isolate the master key from the local cache before." It was completely overwritten. The room held its collective breath. Marcus barely noticed. He was in the zone, that beautiful flow state where time disappears and there's only the problem and the solution dancing just out of reach. He bypassed the encryption, built a shadow partition, recovered fragments of code that the ransomware had thought it destroyed. 2 hours disappeared in what felt like minutes. Sweat beaded on Marcus's forehead. His hands cramped. But slowly, impossibly, files began to reappear. First a trickle, then a flood. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "He's doing it." At 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the investors were scheduled to arrive, Marcus hit enter one final time. The entire system blazed to life, 3 years of data completely restored. The conference room erupted in cheers. People were crying, hugging, laughing with the giddy relief of those who just stepped back from the edge of disaster. Diana Chen stood frozen, staring at the screens like she'd witnessed a miracle. "How did you—" she started, then stopped. "Marcus, you just saved this company. You saved 200 jobs, including mine. I don't know how to thank you." Marcus rubbed his eyes, exhaustion crashing over him. "I'm just glad I could help. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get to my daughter. She's probably terrified being picked up by strangers." "Wait." Diana's voice was firm. "Please wait." Zara was in the lobby, being entertained by Diana's assistant with a smartphone and what looked like half the snacks from the break room. When she saw Marcus, she launched herself into his arms. "Daddy, the nice lady said you were being a superhero." Marcus held her tight, breathing in the apple scent of her shampoo. "Just helping some people, baby girl. Are you okay?" "I'm great. Look, they have a fish tank." Diana approached, and Marcus saw she'd been crying. "Marcus, I need to know something. Why did you help us? You could have just walked away. You had every reason to walk away." Marcus looked down at Zara, then back at Diana. 3 years ago, when my wife died, I was drowning. People I didn't know kept throwing me life preservers. They didn't have to. They just did. Because that's what humans do for each other. Or what we should do anyway." He shrugged. "I saw people who needed help. I could help. It was that simple." "It's not simple," Diana said softly. "It's extraordinary. And I'm not letting you leave here without discussing your future. That is, if you're interested in using those skills in a more formal capacity." 3 months later, Marcus walked into TechVantage Solutions as their new chief security officer. The salary was more than he'd made at his old job. The hours were flexible enough that he never missed another daycare pickup, and Zara had a college fund that would let her become whatever she dreamed of being. But the real change wasn't the money or the title. It was the company-wide initiative. Marcus had proposed and Diana had enthusiastically approved. A program that hired talented people from unconventional backgrounds, people who'd taken detours and faced hardships, people who might deliver your lunch but could also save your company if you bothered to see them as more than their uniform. On his first official day, Marcus kept the old delivery company polo in his desk drawer, not as a reminder of hard times, but as a reminder that every person you meet is carrying skills and stories you can't see. That kindness costs nothing but pays dividends you can't measure. That sometimes the person who saves you is the one you never thought to notice. And that being a superhero, as his daughter put it, sometimes just means being willing to help when you could easily walk away.